Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us this morning. Today is Thursday, March 16th. My name is Estefania Lopez, and I'm the Marketing Associate for Telarus. Today we have a great hybrid IT training call lined up for us by our friends at Level 3, and are very happy to have Manager of Sales Engineers, Matt Frederickson, with us. Quick note to our partners before we get started, please remember that if you have any questions throughout today's presentation to utilize the chat feature, and those will be addressed in the Q&A portion at the end. So with that, I'll turn the time over to Matt.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us on today. We really appreciate the opportunity, and we always love meeting with our favorite partners out there. So I'm Matt Frederickson. I'm the manager of the sales engineering team for the West. We've also got on the line Rich Fry, who is the national channel manager that can help you get connected to the correct local channel manager and sales engineering resources to follow up with any opportunities or questions after we go through it. So what we wanted to cover today is hybrid IT and what that really means in the changing world of digital transformation, how hybrid IT fits in, where over-the-top SD-WAN and Level 3 play together, how we can utilize Cloud Connect as part of that hybrid solution, as well as monitoring and management of a whole network. Then we'll get into a more specific hybrid WAN with bandwidth aggregation bundle that we've put together, including a couple of use cases that we have as examples of where that fits. So I'll start by going through what digital transformation really is. As companies are embracing to move and become more of a digital business, and there's a lot of things to consider when they do this. And there's a lot of challenges in place, such as how do they adopt new technologies and trends and build them into their strategy, and then how do they integrate those into their infrastructure. Doing this, they also need to maintain that they keep their business running with zero downtime and minimal disruption, and they need to have the ability to connect to their customers, employees, business partners, so that they can transact no matter when or where they are in the world. And then they also need to have the capability so that they can manage those applications, their performance, and of course do everything in the most secure way possible. So a lot of heavy uplift to actually reach that digital transformation for sure. So if we look at the way that resources are being managed and consumed from a business perspective, it's changing dramatically. It's becoming so easy to turn up a cloud service that all titles in the C-level suites and different business units are adopting these things quickly. Each time they need to consume IT resources so that they can turn up a cloud service on their own. And sometimes they do it without IT. What this turns into is that the whole organization ends up being misaligned from an entire network perspective. So as business units jump into the cloud on their own, we're seeing three common pitfalls. First, there's a huge lack of expertise. There's a lack of resources from the department as to what the optimal connection is, and then securing the data that's being accessed and shared. IT commonly ends up becoming reactive in trying to support these different projects that the business has undertaken and address these things in a piecemeal manner instead of a holistic approach. With the businesses feeling the pressure to actually get these things launched so quickly, how are they going to actually perform? Will they be able to scale? And is the additional traffic going to impact the overall performance of the network through bandwidth contention? These things aren't fully being considered right now, and this often leads to an incomplete strategy and missteps down the line. We've discovered that there's 4 key considerations to help determine if we've actually addressed all the network transformation that is needed for a successful cloud strategy. If the connection and the network strategy is an afterthought, these issues put the transformation at risk. So security is the first one. As we move our workloads and applications outside of our data center, we're exposing that sensitive data to new potential risks. So have we addressed how that data is accessed, and is it secure? Are we following our own data governance policies? And then are we meeting industry regulations? Then, of course, there's performance. Does the workload or the app require low latency? Or do we end up moving large amounts of data over our existing network connections and creating performance issues? Uptime, as these business critical apps continue to grow, have we addressed those potential uptime issues and built-in redundancy? And are the current connections able to scale up and down as things become different or requirements begin to change? And then, of course, if everybody's buying their own connection, are they leveraging the buying power that the enterprise can put together as a whole and take advantage of the economics of that? So now I have to throw in the hybrid or the SD-WAN speech because I don't think that there's a webinar this year yet that hasn't mentioned SD-WAN. So I'm obligated to throw this in here. But first of all, let's look at what Gartner defines SD-WAN and what 4 characteristics it really provides. And if we look at it, supporting multiple connection types, this might add up to multiple SD-WAN providers in addition to buying and managing multiple individual connections, which each one will have their own bills to plug into some SD-WAN solutions. So consider that. Then dynamic path selection. This is a case where the best performance is still limited to the best performing connection at each location. So it's almost the opposite of the weakest link discussion, where we're now measuring the strongest link and making sure that it's able to perform and meet the demands required by the solution itself and all the business requirements. Then we have ease of deployment. Self-install must be easy. Professionally installed managed services still fit this ease requirement for the end user. There's also the single pane of glass requirement for the management. And we need to examine, what does a customer actually need to manage? Do they need just reporting, or do they need to manage everything? If you're managing multiple connections, you may end up with multiple portals to manage trouble tickets, enter trouble tickets, as well as billing requirements. So just keep that in mind, as what are you looking for in a single view? Is it just that monitoring, or is it more? Is it the holistic, fully managed end-to-end solution? Then, of course, security and privacy compliance are a must. If you can consider an over-the-top SD-WAN box, consider if that box has the same security capabilities as a dedicated UTM device that's placed in the correct location in the network. So all great things to consider. Then, of course, some believe that MPLS is being replaced by SD-WAN, and they need to actually look at that a little bit deeper. The most successful, secure, private SD-WAN deployments out there with a deliverable SLA actually rely on MPLS as either the backbone of the hosted SD-WAN provider, or with MPLS IPVPN as one of the access connections for the methods of an over-the-top deployment. So while SD-WAN has some hybrid characteristics, it's not quite the same as hybrid WAN that looks at all aspects of the organization for a singular billing, SLA guaranteed performance, big data capabilities, and security. So where does level 3 fit into this? At level 3, we operate the world's highest performing global public internet and private IPVPN backbone networks with presence and peering in over 60 countries. Combine that with our leading security knowledge and threat intelligence applied to all of our backbones and security solution offerings, level 3 dedicated internet is a great complement to some SD-WAN deployments. All right, so that's enough SD-WAN talk for now. And let's get back to solving for the actual digital transformation problem without leaving out any other connectivity technologies, and how level 3 is the trusted connection to the network world. At the center of the transformation, you have a network that supports a variety of connectivity options, including public, private, and hybrid networking that connects CSPs, data centers, built-in diversity, and global reach. Today's organizations manage some IT resources in-house, but use cloud resources for other needs. By combining hybrid networking and hybrid cloud, it allows for hybrid IT where you can optimally consume network and computing resources. On average, enterprise customers now actually leverage anywhere between 4 to 6 public and private cloud providers. Along with leveraging these many CSPs, many enterprises still use their primary data centers and colos for hybrid, hosted, or legacy workloads that might not be able to be completed or might not even be available on the cloud service provider, or maybe they have an in-house application that they've built from the ground up that just can't be moved anywhere, and they're not quite ready to retire that. So then look at where your data center is located, what workloads are they actually handling, and do these workloads require low latency? So after you define those, and we know where that data and those workloads are, we need to talk about how you actually connect the data, or how you connect the workforce to those CSPs, data centers, and make sure that all the right people have the right access to their applications on a day-to-day basis. All of your employees, whether they're at HQ, branch offices, remote and mobile workers, need a consistent user experience and have the ability to collaborate anytime, anywhere. So when we look at the workloads themselves, who needs access to the location and bandwidth? Each one of those destinations is going to require a different connection. Let me illustrate some examples of how you might use hybrid connectivity to optimize network architecture. Many customers leverage IPVPN as they add a CSP onto their existing WAN. Waves can be used to connect to colo space for legacy applications, data center consolidation, business continuity, disaster recovery. And then, of course, for private cloud, maybe connecting to an AWS or a Microsoft Azure, Ethernet might be a great option. But not all cloud services require private connectivity. And so for those that don't, you build a public internet connection that's reliable and use that to connect to those publicly connected CSPs out there. Then, of course, as your perimeter extends and the cloud creates this borderless WAN where all that data continues to disperse and end users are demanding access to it everywhere, security needs to remain top of mind. We can get deeper into security on another call to keep it top of mind because your customers are out there talking about it every day with somebody, I guarantee it. But always remember to engage your level 3 channel manager, sales engineering team, and our dedicated solution architect resources to help you get deeper into that specific security conversation. So the use case for private connectivity, this is where we would take a cloud connection and using either a layer 2 dedicated service or a wavelength like we showed in the earlier overall topology, it plays heavily into the hybrid IT environment. So when an organization needs to connect to their CSP directly and alternate data centers, we can use Ethernet and wavelengths to get there. For those ad hoc AWS needs, take something like one of our E-Link connections that has predictable latency, security, throughput, performance, and then you add on the SDN features of dynamic capacity and enhanced management for additional capacity, or you can create a separate EVC because with AWS you might have a connection into one environment, but you might have a need for connections into multiple environments even within AWS. So you need a different connection into that VPC as well. Then we have big data and BCDR backups that also fit these layer 2 direct point-to-points as well. So here's a quick example of just putting all these things together into a full hybrid network where we have HQ connected to all the data centers and out to the remote sites, CSPs, everything else. And then we've got different circuit types out to the remote locations to meet the individual workloads of those specific locations, not just today's applications, but with the ability for growth to be built in and continue to have that scalability for future demand. Then we have MPLS at the core, and this has a full SLA, and we can do this as a managed global network, and we can also connect that directly into the CSPs. We've addressed big data with wavelength services and protected the whole enterprise with adaptive network security services. We've connected our branch users and our remote locations with adaptive network security and brought in the ability to connect all those remote mobile users as well. And everything is level 3 managed with a hardened SLA. IPVPN was a great start and still services many needs, but it doesn't fit everyone. What we want to do is make sure that we're asking about the specific needs and the business problems that they're really trying to solve for, build in some growth, and then we'll help deliver the right connections to actually grow into and service that customer. So into monitoring and enhanced management. This is something that I experienced just a couple weeks ago. I had a customer that was frustrated with their traditional IPVPN. They were on another carrier, and they were struggling managing how to fit their QoS profiles into the bandwidth that they had at each location. I asked them what was actually consuming this bandwidth that they were having such a challenge meeting these profiles with, and they threw their hands up in the air because they honestly didn't know what was actually traversing their network. So with application performance monitoring and enhanced management, we have the ability to give this granular reporting where they can identify that actual traffic, identify anomalies for security, but also be able to review all this reporting for fine-tuning their network and keeping themselves out of that surprise congestion experience. All right, now we'll get into the broadband aggregation. This is Level 3's latest offering, where we have our hybrid WAN service, where we've taken multiple connection types and we've turned this into a package solution where it takes our premium IPVPN backbone, we build that as the core, and then we add on our game-changing security and bundle that on top of our top-ranking internet peering, and we create one or many secure tunnels out to all the different locations. And in some cases, in this fully managed offering, we include Level 3 procured and managed and build third-party broadband, and/or we can add wireless data to that as well as a full Level 3 provided solution. This all delivered by our professional services management team, not only through the implementation cycle, but throughout the life cycle. So it's a fully managed solution through the addition of our broadband aggregation as well as our professional services team. So currently, for this fully packaged hybrid WAN opportunity, we're limiting this to customers with 25 sites or more and to North America. Keep in mind that this is fully managed, so it does include those connections. And here's a great chart of where this solution really fits. So just go through, this is where we actually win. If the customer has not bought into the SD-WAN hype and they want a partner with an SDN roadmap, that's us. If they have a large T1 MPLS network that they're looking to replace those T1s for something with a little bit more bandwidth and want to do it cost effectively and managed, this is a great solution. So think retail, manufacturing, something with many remote locations that don't necessarily need a dedicated MPLS connection. A customer that wants to offload their management, outsource everything to a third party, or maybe they're an existing customer and they just want to scale back or grow from what network they have. The deals that we don't win are a customer that has all their broadband and manages that themselves today, or the prospective customer is looking for a self-managed CPE SD-WAN solution, this is not a fit because we do include all of the managed services with this. Somebody who has a franchise model that can't really control everything out at those remote locations, this is not quite a fit for. And then, of course, if they're looking for less than $200 per site, if they're really ultra cost sensitive, then this is a place where we really find ourselves not winning in this. But we're still happy to look at other pieces of that solution. So here's a couple examples of the scenarios that we do support. So here we have an MPLS offload. This is where that remote site is connected via a dedicated MPLS connection where we can fully control the SLA and the quality of service all the way out without having to even risk anything going over the public internet. The security is higher. And then we can configure this in an active configuration with policy-based routing so that, let's say, their voice traffic is the one riding over this MPLS Ethernet connection or T1 connection, and then their regular broadband or web surfing or connections out to third-party CSP applications resides out on the public internet. They've got more bandwidth here through the wireline broadband, and then the capability of getting out there through a controlled gateway where we can still perform IDS, content filtering, etc., and deliver a fully packaged together solution where we're taking advantage of inexpensive broadband where it's necessary, and then SLA required bandwidth for those business critical needs. So then we have the Internet VPN version of this, which is, this is a remote site where maybe it's cost prohibitive to build a connection over a traditional Ethernet, or maybe N by T1 is not enough for them anymore, and they have access to a wireline broadband. We can procure that wireline broadband, deliver that connection out to that customer site, and then create a secure IPsec tunnel coming back into the MPLS network to reach their customer data center, their headquarters, or whatever, without spending a lot of money on the access to that particular site. Then we have our DS1 replacement. This is pretty common in retail environments or manufacturing environments where there's still a lot of information that isn't real-time critical, but comes out to a high availability requirement. So for retail, making sure that the point of sales system is secure, meets PCI compliance, and has a high availability where we've delivered a broadband connection so that we have the bandwidth out there. Maybe they share that with our guest network, or just have a lot of need for internet-based services that chew up a lot of bandwidth. But then we also procure a cellular access, secure cellular access service that gives them cellular backup in the case of the broadband service, because we know that the SLAs on those are pretty minimal. And sometimes they do run into frequent issues, but having this 4G LTE backup gives them the ability to continue to process credit card transactions or timesheets or supply chain management activity to make that work. So we've got plenty of options for you. Keep talking to our channel managers, our sales engineers to work out these scenarios. And then, you know, any questions right now, I'd love to take some time and address those. I haven't seen anything come through on the chat. Rich, have you seen anything come through?
I have not, but I wanted to say this is like drinking from a fire hose, of course, and you know, you can make anything sound interesting. So these are things that all of our customers need, want, desire, and the good news is Level 3 has, you know, the resources, the human resources to be able to help with the technological resources to help our customers. And Matt, I appreciate you sharing what you have. If there are questions out there, feel free to chime in, and we'll try and answer those on the chat.
I just got a question on the chat about video point-to-point circuits. Absolutely. Yeah, our partners, there's very few products that we can't deliver within the indirect channel. So any video point-to-point service, our Vivix service that we're famous for, absolutely. That can be included well within this hybrid WAN solution as well. We've got many customers that have an IPVPN network as well as a video network behind that.
Good question, Joe. Thank you. If there are any others, feel free to fire them away here on the chat. In the meantime, I'll just reference the fact that, Matt is the manager of the sales engineers here at Level 3. We have a lot of sales engineers that are completely dedicated to the indirect channel. Now, obviously, we have a channel management support team that's also dedicated to the indirect channel. So if any of you in the Telarus family out there, in the Telarus community, have questions as to who they should be engaging or how to engage, feel free to reach out to me. This is Rich Fry. I'm the National Channel Manager here at Level 3, supporting only Telarus.
Yep. We've got another question from Dave. What products do performance, or what application performance monitoring, what is that available on? And that is IPVPN and application performance monitoring. Also, in addition to giving them a dashboard to review things, extends the SLA from POP to POP out to prem to prem when we add that product, because it does give not only the customer additional reporting capabilities and visibility, but it gives them a larger set of tools to quickly diagnose problems. Great question, Dave.
All right, I'm not seeing any more questions coming through. Thank you so much, Matt and Rich. That was fantastic. One last note to everyone. Today's presentation's recording will be available to you shortly in your back office under recorded trainings. We'd definitely like to thank Matt, Rich, and Level 3 team again for their time, and thanks to everyone for your participation, and have a great rest of your selling week.